What is going on, Stonebladers? We got a great game here against Cradle Control, which is a somewhat newer deck. It's kind of like Elves, but with White of the Reliquary, Elvish, Reclaimer, and a few other guys' Cradles. But this is going to be a powerhouse in this matchup. Obviously, having removal is good. I think I had played against this person before, which is why, even if I didn't know, this is a keepable hand, right? We have removal. Nothing really against, combo, but I don't mulligan thinking that I need Force of Wills every time. If you did that, you're going to lose a lot with this deck because mulliganing is one of its biggest weaknesses, especially on the play. Like, you're already down a card, the other person gets a card, but nevertheless, this is a good hand. Let's keep it. Ideally, I'm going to be playing Flooded Strand first in case there's some type of, turn one moon effect. That doesn't happen too often nowadays, but it'd be great to be able to ignore that by just simply fetching for a plains. I remember talking about that in a video, and it actually did come up against like Moon Stompy or Red Stompy, and it won me the game doing that. But this allows me to play a Swords if I need to. That's the biggest reason why I'm doing that. Okay, nothing going on there. Looks like we're fetching for plains, getting Stoneforge. And here, assuming I knew who I was playing against here, I am going with Kaldra just because if I do plan on playing Wrath of the Skies, it just goes perfectly with it. It doesn't kill Kaldra, which is fantastic. Or at least a Germ token because that's indestructible as well. Here we are, we're getting rolling. Okay, sure. Okay, I drew a Swords. I'm not interested in plowing either of them. I don't have a Spell Pierce, I don't have any counters, so I'm just going to be on the aggro here. This will give them the opportunity to definitely do something big next turn. They have like 2, 3, 4, they have 5 mana. They play another creature that can just, increase or just stay the same while building up their board. So I'm going to be on the attack here. Hoping we get another turn because this deck can act pretty fast, which is, I was very surprised. Like I said, I'm not sure if it was this game or another game, but this deck goes crazy. And I think it's, I believe, because of this card. I'm not sure. I have to actually read it. So create a token that's a copy of the creature. Okay, so we're going to see this card go off in case you're not too familiar with it. I'm still not familiar with it. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I need to read this card. So that just came in. Looks like this is going to trigger. Okay. And they have 4. Looks like it's going to be a natural order. Okay, so not much I could do there. Like, even if I had, plowed a creature, I think they're going to have enough mana. So Atraxa. Let's take a look at, let's see, show game log. So they revealed, I wish there was a better way of doing this instead of going back. Okay, they got to pick cards. Let me click through a few times. So Reclaimer, Green Suns, Once Upon a Time in Bayou. There's the Reclaimer. Right now I'm looking for mana. I'm going to ignore this so we can get a better zoom in. Okay. Normally I'd probably just write that down or keep it open. All right, that's not too bad. So definitely want to plow here. And I think I either got rid of, let's see, I'm guessing I got rid of this because this is the one that can get really out of control. Did I? Right? I mean, what else is 2, right? Perfect. Okay, let's attack. They still have a lot of cards in their hand. They did have Atraxa, right? So Once Upon a Time. All right, so they got another one of those. And they don't have all of these, obviously. Like I said, I wish there was a better way of showing up the revealed cards that they kept. Okay? Right now, we want to land. We definitely want to land. Okay. Land. 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 Okay, I guess there we go. It's taking some time to go. Taking a real long time to go. There we go. So we did get a land. So what I want to do is attack with both. They might not block. So they might think I'm up to something. Obviously, they can block here. Nothing's going to happen, So let's just take that chance because we're planning on playing Wrath of the Skies here. So let's just see what happens. Okay, and they didn't block, so we snuck in that extra damage. And you notice how I didn't play the land first? I wanted to do that in case they're aware of Wrath of the Skies. I guess, it would kill everything but this. But playing this could possibly tick them off. As we get going and decks like this keep populating, trust me, like these decks are certainly going to be known of Wrath of the Skies. I cannot tell you how many amazing screenshots I have of just wiping out entire boards where Kaldra and Murktide are left and they attack and win. It's just so ridiculous, but people are going to be aware of that. Like Delver decks aren't going to be playing a ton of creatures into a potential Wrath of the Skies unless they have counter for it or even Supreme Verdict. So people are definitely going to get smarter. But the cool thing about decks like this and Painter and many times Death and Taxes, you kind of have to play to the board. Elves can't really win if they just play one creature, and instead of just going off and doing their thing in natural ordering. Well, maybe they can, but okay. So what are they doing here? Okay. And we're using all because this is 2 and they are all gone. Sweet. That was great and all, but it's just extremely far from over. They have 4 cards left in their hand, remember, from the Atraxa, so it's not a huge deal. Decks like this can recover after drawing a lot of really important cards. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, that can be. So you're going to notice they make a copy. Cool. Not bad. So I did want to swords this. And then I wanted to bounce the token since that's going to be gone. Teferi has done its job. And I'm still on the aggressive. Like, I'm just going to go for it. Once again, this is more about... I think this is where I made probably an interesting play, to say the least. So what do we have here? What's going on? Oh, they're making land here. Sure. Like, they're probably on the defensive, but, it happens. Land? No land. Okay, so here we are. They didn't even care about attacking Teferi. So this is the part where I was like, oh, I have the Wrath of the Skies. I can cast Wrath of the Skies. I have 2, and then I can clear everything. Okay, so this was the funny part here. This is what happens when you play Magic and you're extremely tired. Like right now, my voice is kind of gone. I've been working so much. So like doing work plus recording Magic and playing a lot of Magic is so tiring. This is an example of it. Thinking I had a Wrath of the Skies for 3, okay? Forgetting that you have to actually cast Snapcaster Mage first. And I'm like, oh, it's only 1. So I'm literally getting rid of their token and their Dryad Arbor. So I was like, well, that's great. So that wasn't a very big deal. I mean, it was a big deal. But I think they, from there on out, they're going to take control. 1 more mana would have at least been a little bit nicer. But that was my bonehead play of the game. And now they have Craterhoof, and that's going to be that. Okay, so there's that. I don't know. I usually don't do draw a card. I don't want to know what the next one was. But they're probably just being on defense, knowing who the beatdown was. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with this deck, but something I do know now is that it can very quickly turn on you. So I think keeping the Germ back, trying to have them make bad attacks just to be able to kill it, and then maybe keep up Spell Pierce. I think I would have been able to Spell Pierce that. They don't have any extra mana there, so that would have been another thing. So never mind. It just came down to me being a bonehead and thinking that I had a Wrath of the Skies for 3 when I didn't. So let's go to the sideboarding. We have some interesting cards to bring in here. All right, so let's take a quick look at this deck that has been performing very well for me. There is one deck that it hasn't been doing against. I'm not counting any of the Grief stuff. Ironically enough, I haven't been seeing many of that. Maybe a lot of people are getting the idea that it's going to be gone soon and are just not playing with it, but Eldrazi has been the biggest, I'd say, loser here, where I need more help. Very easily to combat that, I would take out 1 Damping Spear, 1 Dress Down, and those would probably be like 2 Blood Moons or maybe 2 of these. Really depends on how you want to stretch your mana base in terms of like, do you want to fetch blue, blue, white, or do you want to fetch that mountain and other colors? That's going to be up to you. But we have 8 removals here, 4 swords, 2 rads, 2 prismatics. This is going to be more of like the cantrip package. I just put Snapcaster Mage there. This is going to be the attack package. We have equipments, so obviously business as usual. Kaldra, Batterskull, Cryptic Coat. Murk is going to be a finisher. I like having a 1-of that. Creatures won a good amount of games. A lot of times I've even strapped Batterskull to it, and it's hard to kill. Same stuff as always. Tamiyo is going to be 3. That's the newest of. This is the Planeswalkers. Not much to say about that. It's fantastic. Every now and then it'll get that 1-for-1 removal, but there's always this back and forth game between should you tap your mana, should you draw that card, should you hold on to that Brainstorm, when should you fire it. I really like it. Adds an extra level to Stoneblade that we didn't have before. Then there's 2 Teferis, 2 Narsets. I took out the Teferis and I feel like it severely hurted the deck. I didn't like the way it performed. I love that just tempo variation. I like being able to choose when my opponents are going to be able to cast their spells. I do love ticking up on it to cast a lot of sorceries at instant speed. It doesn't happen all the time, but I don't mind just playing Teferi, saying to 2 creatures, bouncing 1, getting a card, getting that tempo, and just simply having them attack it. Not a big deal to me. A lot of times what you want to do is play that so you can get that extra mana. Like you have that 3rd land, you're looking for the 4th one. And it's a great way to fog, obviously, get that chance at looking at another card and going from there. This is more of the counter and control package. I put back to basics in there. And then this obviously is going to be the sideboard. So Damping Spear and Dress Down can be like Blood Moons, any type of hoser of mana for Eldrazi. That's probably the only deck I'm having trouble with. And everything else is great. The 3rd Wrath of the Skies is going to be in the sideboard. That hoses so many decks. It just makes playing a lot of decks more fun, in my opinion, because you can just wipe the board, go from there. Especially Painter is really big now. I know like Yorion and Taxes I played against many times before. Enchantress, my goodness, the damage that card can do to Enchantress is redonkulous. Aside from that, Maverick, there's Elves, there's like the Cradle control we're playing now, and many more decks that rely, let's say like Delver and so on and so forth. Once you are ahead and you can play around days, it's not too bad. I'm certainly keeping that in. The only thing when it comes to Delver decks and say Psychic Frogs is that if you're bringing in your Pyroblast, which I am, it can sometimes be difficult to stretch your mana to get double planes, also get a red up there, but that's something you really have to keep in mind when fetching, and obviously probably not playing dual lands because them wasting you can be a very big deal, especially if you need that 2nd plains or that 1 mountain. But when you look at it this way, we have, 8 right here for removal, bringing in 3 blasts, say for Psychic Frog and Murktide. We're now at 11. Plus we have, Virtual with Snapcaster. We have a lot of removal. Oh, and of course the other Wrath of the Skies. I don't think I would bring in the 3rd one, depending on anything else I'm bringing in. Dress Down isn't too bad, but that's going to be that. Let's actually talk about sideboarding for this game. So what I'm going to do here, let's say we want Wrath of the Skies, definitely. I don't mind Dress Down. A lot of times it's just a way to bridge the gap in the beginning, to something else, to remove any of their stats, which their creatures certainly do have a lot of. Is there anything else that I'm looking for here? Not necessarily. So what's really bad in this? I would say, Teferi's not all that great. Narset's not the greatest. I am going to be in the play, so I do like Tamiyo here. So it's really tough to say what to bring out. Maybe 2 Teferis, and what else do we want here? Maybe a Spell Pierce, or back to basics. I don't remember specifically, but that's what I would be doing there. Pick and choose as you may. But let's get back to the game. We've been doing a lot of talking about this actual deck, which has felt great. Remember, just add a couple sideboard options for, say, like Blood Moon against Eldrazi, and you should be pretty good. So let's go back to game number 2. All right, I love this hand. I can't tell you how much I like this hand. Okay, the idea here is to get to like turn 3 or 4 and not die. Okay, so we have all of our planes, we have all of our mana to cast Wrath of the Skies. As long as we get maybe something else, we can distract them with Stoneforge. They're not going to be doing a whole lot turn 1, maybe not too much turn 2, but I'm keeping this instantly. Here I'm probably playing a plains and saying pass. I know like this is already in my hand, but at least with Stoneforge, I can get Kaldra, sure. Now, if I get removal, am I going to get rid of that? I didn't, so, oh, look, another Stoneforge. Here I'm getting Kaldra. I say, if I got a removal there, would I use it on that? I think I would still go with Stoneforge here to threaten Kaldra, because I can play Kaldra next turn, and then the turn after that, I can Wrath. Okay. If I get removal, am I using it on that? All right, here is where... This is funny. They did the same exact thing I did where they tacked into it and they're like, am I going to block? This is where I clicked through it on this one, or either that or I had like a brain fart. Like I said, that should have been blocked. Is there anything else they can do? They can't tap this, right? So I just lost the damage. That's fine. I just find it funny how that's what I did previously. So here I am actually not bringing in Kaldra. So if they want to attack, that's fine. Okay, and they have this. Yeah, this should be interesting. Gorgeous. All right, well, let's bring in Kaldra. Okay. And actually, let's see. No, I think It's like, could we just use that? I'm trying to think if... Usually this is going to be the time where if you attack with Stoneforge, they can easily just block and kill it. I'm trying to think if I cast Wrath first or just attack first. I think I might have gone with Wrath in case they felt like they needed to chump for some reason. Okay, maybe I did attack. I think Wrathing there is fine, just to give them the ability to not block. You know, maybe they wanted to for some odd reason. Now we can play this and do nothing. Ha! I'm not sure why I did nothing there. Oh, I think it's because I have Batterskull. So that is why. I definitely gave them the opportunity to be able to do something big there, but I guess I was just saving up for that extra juicy Wrath. Because I do have Batterskull here, so what I can do is bring it in and just block it and gain some life. So that was the plan there. So a good thing I didn't attack with Stoneforge, given the fact I wasn't planning on using Wrath. Okay, so they're cracking that. Oh yes, bring in another creature. Yes, make a copy. Yes, do that. Yes, I don't know what you're doing. Just keep doing it. Sure, make another copy. I'm glad I waited for that Wrath. This looks so much more beautiful. And I believe I should have Wrathed here in case for some odd reason they want to just block with a bunch of tokens and soak up damage. There we are. Okay, now we're being smart. I did kind of give them a window there, so that's their board. And now that's their board. Beautiful. I love it. Let's attack now. Ah, Wrath of the Skies, ladies and gentlemen. At least this time they didn't get a track, so that's fine. Okay, and I did want to force this because this card can certainly get out of control. They did play a land, so if they put that on it, I probably could have just Prismatic Ending that, but I ended up going with Force of Will here. You think oh, so they did have a land. Okay, so it was probably right to force that. I didn't get to see. I don't have the log open, but I probably saw that previously. Let's get rid of this. So is there any reason why I wouldn't play a Stoneforge here? I believe I don't think there's any reason not to. I'm not holding up. That's good because it can't be blocked, so they got to do something quick. They're surveilling. And they conceded. I believe they do concede coming up. Not yet? Okay, there we are. So that game brought to you by Wrath of the Skies. Thank you very much. That was a lot of damage, which was great. So that was game 2. They know what I'm up to. They know I know what they're up to. Let's go to game number 3. We are in the final round. Okay, and so here we are. Once again, I love this hand. I have not seen any wastelands from this deck. And because of that, I'm comfortable fetching a Tundra. I do have a Brainstorm in case I need to find more land, which is probably what I'm going to want to do. I obviously have a Swords, Brainstorm, Force of Will with Teferi. I think this is fine. I think, remember, I did talk about taking out Teferi, so clearly I didn't there. Let's look at our sideboard. So it looks like I took out 2 Spell Pierces and a Back to Basics, which makes sense. I think this deck is just way too fast for Back to Basics, plus they get mana from their mana dorks, and they can always use Elvish Reclaimer to kind of cycle away lands they don't need for different ones. So that makes perfect sense. 2 Spell Pierce and a Back to Basics, keeping in Teferi. Okay, let's go. What do we have? If this is a Reclaimer, do I Swords it? Okay, it's not. This is a druid, a Dryad Arbor. Close, James. Okay. We got Snapcaster, not bad. This can obviously be used later. What do they got? Okay. I don't care too much about them cycling. I do have a Force, so even if they get a Cradle later on, they have enough mana. I do have the Force of Will for their natural order. Here I am looking for land because if I find 1 land in 2 turns from now on, Wrath of the Skies is going to be fantastic. So because of that, I am going to shuffle here. And the reason I'm doing it now is because even if I don't hit a Plains, which is unfortunate, I will have a Plains open next turn. This deck is very fast, so it's almost like you're treating it like a combo deck where you got to act quickly. So I did get a land. It's not a second Plains, but it's a land nevertheless. So here, Batterskull is going back and anything else, because I'm going to be drawing it. Here, probably playing an island, a little bit more threatening than a mountain. And is there anything we want to get rid of? We did. Prismatic Ending on the Reclaimer. Okay. That makes sense. I can keep the swords for later, and if they have anything threatening, like right now. What do we got? Oh, they're doing their mana. 1 sec. This is probably getting countered, depending on what it is. Did they have enough for a natural order? I'm trying to click through so it doesn't go all the way through. So this is only 2, which is probably what a weight of the reliquary. So I don't think that's a huge deal. I can just bounce it and we can get through our Brainstorm a lot quicker. I want to save my mana for something a little bit more intimidating. So this is a perfect example of why I like Teferi right here. Like what I want to do is just play this and then bounce. Unless I swords, I don't think I swords it. Here we go. So I can bounce this. I can get through an extra card. Perfect. That's the land I was looking for. And so they're pretty much just going to attack it. So we're playing this here. Okay, so they have something else. They're not even playing it at all. They're just going to attack it. Okay, that's fine. That's even better. I will take that. Like Teferi did its job. And obviously the board states where it's just like one creature and you bounce it, it's even better. But I don't mind that as a trade. For a deck that is so fast, I think that was excellent. So the question is here, do I Wrath of the Skies? I think the answer is no. And why is the answer no? Because I have a forced backup for anything else they're going to be doing. So it's, let's see, I assume I'm playing my land here, right, James? Come on. There we go. So I don't remember if I did or didn't. But in this case, I'd probably go with no. I wouldn't fault me if I did. But then again, let's see. Wrath of the Skies, and then I can, let's see, Snapcaster. I'm not going to have enough mana. What can they really do here? They have 1, 2, 3, 4. They can spin this into something else, but they're not going to be able to use it. If I did no here, okay, so I guess I did do it. So let's just kill that board. So I was thinking about, that's the thing when you're playing Wrath, it's like how long can I hold on to it without dying? And I guess I chose the safe route there. So I am doing 2 for this since I don't need my mana for anything else. I don't feel like I need to hold up planes. So I'm just going to do it for 1 and kill everything. And I have the extra energy counter. So if I want to use it later, that's especially beneficial if you're Snapcaster for Wrath of the Skies. You get that extra energy counter, which is nice. Okay, we knew about that. That's going to get ending. So mountains, plains. Yep. Okay. So they put a Force of Vigor in the graveyard. This is good. For a deck that needs to be very explosive, this is where we want to be. Looks like I'm going to be playing Island, and Batterskull looks pretty good here. Tapping everything but Tundra. Like I said, I don't think they have Wasteland in this deck. I haven't seen it. So unless there's one floating around somewhere. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to play my land here because I can hard count. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would make it 7. So if I get 8, I can say, Force of Will, then I can snap and say, do something else. So assuming I use my plow, I think playing the mana here is much more important. That I didn't Force of Will. I understand that like they're going to do this on this, most likely. Okay, sure. I can still plow it, and then I can snap plow again, so that's completely fine. And I did draw that extra land, so that's good. I am going to play that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I can say if I have swords previously, I can Force of Will and then snap plow. So what do we have here? That definitely can't happen. So 1, 2, 3. So island, 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 mountain, plains looks like. Okay, I'm tapping that. That's fine too. And what are we doing in... Oh. Okay, that's fine. That really hits their life a lot. So here I chose to plow, but what I could have done, there might have been a better way of doing that. I probably could have returned, I can't return it to my hand, so no, I don't think that's the worst in the world. Okay. Oh, that's great. So here I can do nothing and return Batterskull at the end of my turn. So I have Force and Snap Force. That does nothing. Okay, so here I Force of Will this, but I think the better option here might be Snap Force. You know, because if I do that, then obviously I can just, actually that is, let's see, 5, 6, 7, then they would be at 1. I think I just Force of Will this, yeah. It's tough to say here, because at least if I keep Snap in my hand, like I'm right there, I'm returning Batterskull to my hand, then I can play it. Then I'm not sure if I even have enough for Snap Force, but there's not much they can do with just one card. So I think either way would have gotten the job done. But this at least allows me to Snap Force, Snap Swords after that. And we got it. So Wrath of the Skies, those games, it was used in all 3 games, but the first one they had the Atraxa first, so they had plenty to kind of recuperate after that. But nevertheless, that card is going to be phenomenal against a lot of these low to the ground decks. There's also that newer deck that has like Geist of St. Taft, and there's a few others that are a lot of like 1-drops and 2-drops. This deck can absolutely roll over. If they're not playing the Daze version, I think there's a version that's just white and red where they can't counter it. It's pretty much the same thing as Stoneblade it's always been. In the beginning, you got to get to that mid stretch. So you can remove some creatures here and there. You can use Teferi to gain some tempo, bounce it, bring him back. That allows you the time to sculpt your hand, draw more land, where you can set up turns for Wrath of the Sky and so on and so forth. But that was a fun little showing. I haven't done a recording in a while. Like I said, I've played a lot of games, but I have had very minimal time. I'm like always tired. So either I'm making some misplays or like I'm like calling the card the wrong thing. There's so many times where I'll say, yeah, I play my Force of Will and I'm looking at a Snapcaster. Stuff like that happens all the time. But I think you're going to really enjoy this deck, the post-grief banning, or at least maybe now knowing the fact that a lot of people aren't playing it as much. But once that card is gone, I think Eldrazi needs to be the biggest, I guess you could say, focus. That's going to have a very big impact on the metagame, I think. So Blood Moons are going to be very important. The memory card where you can counter a colorless spell is going to be a good one. And anything else that can help beat Eldrazi as well have other uses in other decks are going to be very helpful, because this deck's not too bad against control. I have beat some control decks as well, some really good slogs. I might post that next if I can get some time, but I'll showcase a lot of different matchups because I think this deck, once again, has some good game against a lot of these decks that are going to be showing up, assuming you don't make too many bonehead plays like I do many times. But that's about it. I'm rambling now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video.